Marcus Webb stood in the observation deck of the Times Horizon's Edge Times and stared at the massive alien ship approaching them. His hands were shaking slightly, though he tried to hide it. He was a scientist, not a soldier. He studied alien life forms through microscopes and computer screens, not face-to-face like this. "It's beautiful," whispered Helen Price, the ship's captain. It looked like a massive crystal sculpture floating through space, glowing with soft blue and purple lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Marcus nodded. He had seen pictures of Varine ships before, but nothing prepared him for seeing one in person. The thing was 3 times the size of their ship, and this was just a transport vessel. He didn't want to imagine what their warships looked like. "Nervous?" asked Kyle Brooks, walking up behind them. The ambassador was a tall man, with gray hair and a calm smile that never seemed to fade, even in situations like this. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. There was no point in lying. Kyle laughed softly. "Good. That means you're smart. The Varine Empire has controlled this part of space for thousands of years. They could wipe out Earth without breaking a sweat. So yes, being nervous is the right reaction." "You're not helping," Lisa Grant said. The security officer was checking her sidearm for the 3rd time. Marcus knew it was just a habit that helped her feel in control. The weapon would be useless against the Varine if things went wrong. The communication system crackled to life. "Docking procedures beginning," announced the ship's computer. "All diplomatic personnel report to the main airlock." Marcus took a deep breath and followed the others. His role in this mission was simple: study the Varine biology, help establish medical protocols for future contact, and try not to mess anything up. He was here because he had written several papers on insectoid alien species, even though he had never actually met one before. The airlock opened with a hiss. Beyond it was a corridor that looked like the inside of a crystal cave, all smooth surfaces that seemed to glow from within. 6 Varine guards stood waiting. Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. They were amazing and terrifying at the same time. Each one stood about 7 feet tall, with bodies covered in hard plates that shimmered like opals. Their exoskeletons showed swirling patterns of color that moved and changed as they breathed. They had 4 arms, each ending in delicate fingers that looked sharp enough to cut through metal. Their heads were triangular, dominated by large compound eyes that reflected light like gemstones. One of the guards stepped forward and spoke. The words sounded like clicking and humming, but a small device on its chest translated into English. "Welcome, humans. Follow us to the reception chamber. Queen Lysara awaits." The walk through the Varine ship felt like moving through a dream. Everything was so different from human design. There were no straight lines or sharp corners. The walls curved and flowed like they had been grown rather than built. Marcus noticed other Varine moving through the corridors, all of them stopping to stare at the human visitors. "They're curious about us," Owen Clark whispered. The neuroscientist had been quiet until now, but Marcus could see his eyes darting everywhere, trying to take in every detail. The reception chamber was enormous. The ceiling stretched up so high that Marcus couldn't see the top, just more of that glowing crystal structure fading into purple shadows. Hundreds of Varine filled the room, all of them dressed in what looked like living jewelry. Thin strands of luminescent material wrapped around their bodies, pulsing with different colors. At the far end of the chamber, on a raised platform, sat the queen. Queen Lysara was larger than the other Varine. Her exoskeleton, a deep purple-black that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. A crown of some kind of living organism rested on her head, its tendrils moving slowly like underwater plants. Her eyes were the most striking feature, instead of the solid compound eyes of the others. Hers seemed to have depth, almost like human eyes, though they were still multifaceted and alien. Kyle Brooks stepped forward and began the formal greeting that Earth's diplomats had prepared. He spoke about peace and cooperation, about the hope for friendship between their species. It was all very proper and rehearsed. Queen Lysara listened in silence. Her body language was impossible for Marcus to read. Did she find this boring? Insulting? Interesting? He had no idea. Then, something unexpected happened. The Queen raised one of her hands. Kyle stopped talking immediately. The entire room went silent. Every Varine in the chamber seemed to freeze. Queen Lysara stood up. She descended from the platform, with movements that were both graceful and unsettling. She walked right past Kyle Brooks, past Helen Price, past Lisa Grant. She stopped directly in front of Marcus. Her eyes locked onto his. Marcus felt like he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Up close, he could see the intricate patterns in her exoskeleton, could hear the soft humming sound she made with each breath. "Everyone leave," the Queen said. Her translator made her voice sound flat and emotionless. But there was something in the way she stood that suggested otherwise. "Your Majesty," Kyle began. "Everyone, leave." The Queen didn't raise her voice, but every Varine in the room turned and walked out immediately. The human delegation looked at each other in confusion. Helen Price stepped forward. "We can't leave our team member alone. Not the human." The others. All of them. Now, Queen Lysara still hadn't taken her eyes off Marcus. Lisa Grant put her hand on her weapon. "Sir, I don't think... It's okay," Marcus heard himself say. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "I'll be fine." "Marcus," Helen started. "Please, just wait outside." The captain looked like she wanted to argue. But something in Marcus's expression stopped her. The humans filed out slowly. Lisa Grant, looking back over her shoulder, until the door sealed shut. Now it was just Marcus and the alien queen in the massive chamber. Queen Lysara took another step closer. She was so tall that Marcus had to tilt his head back to look at her face. Her forearms moved in small, agitated gestures. "My daughter needs you," she said. Marcus blinked. "I'm sorry. What?" "My daughter, Princess Sarah. She is dying. You are the only one who can save her." "I don't understand. I'm just a scientist. I study alien biology. I couldn't comprehend it either," the Queen interrupted. Her translator made the words sound flat, but Marcus thought he could hear something breaking underneath. Desperation, maybe. Fear. "Our best physicians, our greatest minds, they all told me the same thing. There is only one being in all of known space who can save my daughter. The biological match is perfect. It is you." Marcus felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. There must be some mistake. "I'm nobody. I'm just... You are Dr. Marcus Webb of Earth. Age 34. Specialization in xenobiology and cross-species medicine. Your genetic markers produce a unique enzyme that our species lost millions of years ago in our evolution. That enzyme can stabilize my daughter's neural pathways. Without it, she will die within 30 days. The Queen's eyes seemed to bore into him. For the first time, Marcus noticed that the colors swirling in her exoskeleton weren't moving in random patterns. They were pulsing in rhythm with his own heartbeat. "I am a queen," she continued. "I command fleets that could reduce your planet to dust. I have never begged for anything in my life. But I am also a mother. And I am begging you now. Please, save my daughter." Marcus opened his mouth, but no words came out. His mind was racing, trying to process what he was hearing. This was insane. This was impossible. And yet the most powerful being he had ever met was standing in front of him, practically on her knees, asking for his help. "How?" he finally managed to ask. "How do you even know this is possible?" "Come with me," Queen Lysara said. "Meet Sarah. See her condition with your own eyes. Then you can decide." 2. She extended one of her hands toward him. The gesture was so human-like that it caught Marcus off guard. He looked at her hand, at her face, at the empty chamber around them. He thought about Earth, about the fact that refusing could mean disaster for his whole species. He thought about the weight of this impossible choice. But mostly, he thought about the expression in the Queen's eyes, alien as they were. He recognized that look. It was the same look his own mother had worn when his sister had been sick. It was the look of someone watching their child slip away and being powerless to stop it. Marcus reached out and took the Queen's hand. Her skin felt cool and smooth, like polished stone. "Take me to her," he said. The journey to the Varine homeworld took 3 days. Marcus spent most of that time in a small cabin aboard the Queen's personal ship, trying to understand what he had agreed to. Helen Price had argued with him for hours before finally accepting his decision. Lisa Grant had insisted on coming along, and to everyone's surprise, Queen Lysara had agreed immediately. Owen Clark had volunteered as well. "You'll need someone who understands neural systems," he had said. "If this is really about brain chemistry, you can't do it alone. Activator. AC. AC." Now Marcus stood at the viewport, watching as Crystallia came into view. The planet was nothing like Earth. Instead of blue and green, it glowed with purple and gold colors. The cities were visible even from orbit, massive structures that looked like they had been grown from crystal rather than built from metal and stone. "It's their way," Owen said, coming to stand beside him. "The Varine don't build things the way we do. They grow them. Those cities down there are alive in a sense. They're made from engineered organisms that excrete crystalline structures. It's like coral reefs, but on a planetary scale." Marcus nodded. He had read about it in the briefing materials, but seeing it was different. Everything about this felt unreal. Lisa Grant was checking her equipment for what must have been the 100th time. "I still don't like this. We're going to be completely at their mercy down there. If this goes wrong, it won't go wrong," Marcus said, though he didn't feel as confident as he tried to sound. The landing was smooth. When the ship's doors opened, Marcus got his first breath of Varine air. It smelled strange, like ozone, and something sweet he couldn't identify. The gravity was slightly heavier than Earth's, making each step feel a bit harder. A group of Varine were waiting for them. One stepped forward, larger than the guards, but smaller than the Queen. The patterns on his exoskeleton were deep blue with silver highlights. "I am Chief Physician Drax," the translator device announced. "I oversee all medical care for the royal family. The Queen has explained your purpose here. I must tell you, I have serious doubts about this plan." "You and me both," Marcus muttered. If Drax heard him, he didn't acknowledge it. "The princess is waiting." The royal palace was even more impressive than the ship. The walls seemed to pulse with gentle light, and Marcus realized they actually were alive, some kind of bioluminescent organism growing in patterns across every surface. Guards stood at regular intervals, their exoskeletons polished to a mirror shine. They walked through corridors that twisted and turned in ways that made Marcus's sense of direction completely useless. Finally, they reached a large door that opened silently at their approach. The medical chamber beyond was vast. Equipment that Marcus couldn't begin to understand filled the space. In the center, on a platform that seemed to be made of the same crystal as everything else, lay Princess Sarah. Marcus felt his breath catch. The princess was smaller than her mother, maybe 6 feet tall, and her exoskeleton was a pale lavender color. But something was clearly wrong. While Queen Lysara's shell had been smooth and perfect, Sarah's was covered in dark cracks that spread across her body like broken glass. The lights that should have glowed from within were dim and flickering. As they approached, the princess's eyes opened. They were the same deep purple as her mother's, but they looked tired. "So you're the human," Sarah said. Her translator made her sound young, almost childlike. "Mother has talked about nothing else for weeks." "Hi," Marcus said, then felt stupid. What were you supposed to say to a dying alien princess? But Sarah made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Hi yourself. Don't look so scared. I won't bite. Can't really move much anymore." Actually, Drax moved to one of the machines and began operating it. Images appeared in the air above Sierra's body, three-dimensional displays of her internal structure. Marcus moved closer, his scientist's brain taking over from his fear. The cracks in her exoskeleton are just symptoms, Drax explained. The real problem is here. He pointed to a section of the image that showed what Marcus assumed was Sierra's nervous system. It looked like it was burning. Bright spots of activity flared and died across the network of nerves. Her neural synapses are firing incorrectly, Owen said, stepping up beside Marcus. It's like her brain is short-circuiting. Precisely, Drax said, sounding surprised that the human had understood. It is a genetic defect. Incredibly rare. The synapses fire too fast, too hot. Eventually, they will burn out completely. And I have something that can fix this? Marcus asked. Drax made a gesture that might have been the Vereen equivalent of a shrug. Your body produces an enzyme. We do not fully understand why. Human evolution took a different path than ours. This enzyme acts as a neural regulator. In theory, if we can extract it from you and introduce it into the princess's system, it should calm the synaptic activity. In theory, Marcus repeated. Yes. We have never attempted this. It may not work. It may work but cause other problems. Or it may work perfectly. We simply do not know. Marcus looked at Sierra. The princess was watching him with those tired eyes. What do you think about all this? He asked her. I think I don't want to die, Sarah said simply. I'm scared, but I'm also curious. Mother says your species is fascinating. That you feel emotions very strongly, that you create art and music for no logical reason, that you help others, even when it doesn't benefit you. Sometimes, Marcus said. Not always. We can be selfish too. Cruel, even. But not always, Sierra said. You came here. You didn't have to. You're scared, I can see it in your body language, even though you're so different from us, but you came anyway. That's interesting. Marcus found himself smiling despite everything. There was something about the princess's directness that he liked. When do we start? Drax led them to another area of the medical chamber. First, we need to run tests on you. We must understand exactly how your body produces this enzyme and in what quantities. Then we can determine the best extraction method. The tests were uncomfortable but not painful. Marcus lay on a platform while machines scanned him with lights and sounds that made his teeth ache. Owen stood nearby, watching the results appear on displays. This is incredible, Owen murmured. Marcus, your brain chemistry is producing this compound constantly. It's part of your normal function. You probably never even knew it existed. What does it do for humans? Lisa asked from where she stood guard by the door. Near as I can tell, it helps regulate emotional responses, Owen said. It might be part of why humans can experience such intense feelings but not get overwhelmed by them. We have a natural buffer. And the Vereen don't have this? Marcus asked. They evolved differently, Drax said. His tone was hard to read, but Marcus thought he detected something like reluctance. My species pursued genetic perfection over millions of years. We removed traits we considered flaws. Strong emotions were seen as flaws. They made us unpredictable, irrational. So we engineered them away. Quote, but the enzyme did more than control emotions, Owen said, studying the displays. It also regulated neural activity. Without it, your species became vulnerable to conditions like this. Drax didn't respond, but his silence felt like agreement. The testing took hours. By the time it was finished, Marcus felt exhausted, but Drax seemed satisfied with the results. We can begin treatment tomorrow, the physician announced. You will need to rest. The extraction process will be taxing on your system. A Vereen attendant led them to quarters that had been prepared for the humans. The rooms were strange, all curves and soft glowing light, but there were things that had clearly been added for their comfort. Beds that looked almost human. Temperature controls. Even food that smelled familiar. The Queen wants you to be comfortable, the attendant explained through its translator. She has studied human needs extensively. After the attendant left, Lisa immediately began checking the rooms for surveillance devices. Owen started reviewing the medical data on a portable device. Marcus just sat on the bed, feeling overwhelmed. "You okay?" Owen asked after a while. "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "This is all so strange. A week ago, I was in my lab on Earth. Now I'm on an alien planet, about to undergo medical procedures to save a princess I just met." "You don't have to do this," Lisa said. "We can still leave." "The Queen said you could decide after seeing Sarah." Marcus thought about it. He thought about the cracks in Sarah's exoskeleton, about her tired eyes, about the way she had talked about being scared, but curious. He thought about Queen Lysara's desperate plea. "No," he said finally. "I'm going to help her. I just needed a moment to freak out first." Owen smiled. "That's fair." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He got up and walked to the window. Outside, the city of Crystallia glowed in the darkness. Varine moved through the streets below, going about their lives. Somewhere in this massive palace, Princess Sira was lying in that medical chamber, her body slowly failing. And somehow, impossibly, Marcus was supposed to save her. He pressed his hand against the window. The crystal was cool under his palm. He thought about home, about Earth, about the normal life he had left behind. He wondered if he would ever get back to it. Behind him, he heard the door open softly. He turned to see Queen Lysara standing in the doorway. She looked different, somehow, smaller, more vulnerable. Without her court around her, she was just a worried mother. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "No," Marcus admitted. "Too much to think about." The Queen walked to the window and stood beside him. For a moment, they both just looked out at the city. "I want you to know something," Lysara said. "If this doesn't work, if my daughter dies, I will not blame you. You came here. You tried. That is more than I had any right to ask." "She's not going to die," Marcus said. He surprised himself with how firmly he said it. The Queen looked at him. In the soft light, her eyes seemed almost human. "Thank you," she said quietly. Then she turned and left, leaving Marcus alone with his thoughts and the glowing city beyond the window. The first extraction session began at dawn. Marcus lay on a medical platform, while Drax and his team worked around him with quiet efficiency. Machines he couldn't understand hummed and beeped, and lights passed over his body in complex patterns. "This will feel strange," Drax warned. "We're stimulating your neural system to produce higher levels of the enzyme. You may experience unusual sensations." Strange was an understatement. Marcus felt like his whole body was buzzing. His thoughts seemed to move faster, jumping from one idea to another. Colors looked brighter. Sounds were sharper. It wasn't painful, but it wasn't comfortable either. "Enzyme production increasing," one of Drax's assistants reported. "Levels are rising within acceptable parameters." Marcus tried to focus on his breathing, on staying calm. He watched the medical displays floating above him, showing things happening inside his body that he only partly understood. Owen stood nearby, monitoring everything with intense concentration. After what felt like hours but was probably only 30 minutes, Drax made a gesture. "That's enough for the first session. We have sufficient quantity for the initial treatment." Marcus sat up slowly. His head felt fuzzy, like he had just woken up from a deep sleep. Lisa was immediately at his side, helping him steady himself. "You all right?" she asked. "Yeah, just weird." Across the medical chamber, other Varine physicians were preparing Princess Sarah for her part of the procedure. Marcus watched as they connected various tubes and devices to her body. The princess caught him looking and managed a small wave with one of her hands. "Now comes the difficult part," Drax said. "We must introduce the enzyme into the princess's neural system. But her condition makes her extremely sensitive. We cannot simply inject it. Instead, you and she must undergo a synchronization process." "Synchronization?" Owen asked sharply. "What does that mean exactly?" Drax manipulated one of the displays, showing a diagram that meant nothing to Marcus. We will create a temporary neural bridge between the human and the princess. Their brain activity will synchronize, allowing the enzyme to transfer naturally and adjust to her specific neural patterns. It is safer than forcing the introduction artificially. You want to link their brains? Owen said. That's incredibly dangerous. We have no idea what that could do to Marcus. The alternative is to proceed without synchronization, Drax said flatly. The chances of success drop to less than 20%. The princess will likely die. Marcus stood up, pushing away Lisa's supporting hand. Marcus, Owen started. I'll do it. Marcus repeated firmly. That's why I'm here. They moved him to a platform next to Sira's. The princess turned her head to look at him. Up close, he could see how the cracks in her exoskeleton had spread since yesterday. She was getting worse. Are you sure about this? Sarah asked. Drax is right. It could be dangerous for you. I'm sure, Marcus said, though his heart was pounding. Let's save your life. Drax and his team worked quickly, attaching devices to both Marcus and Sarah. Thin wires connected to his temples, sending small tingles across his skin. Similar devices were placed on the princess. Beginning synchronization, Drax announced. Initiating neural bridge in 3, 2, 1. The world exploded into sensation. Marcus gasped as he suddenly felt everything Sarah was feeling. The pain in her body, the exhaustion, the fear, but also her curiosity, her determination to survive, her strange affection for this alien human who had come so far to help her, and she could feel him too. He knew it somehow. Knew that she was experiencing his nervousness, his wonder at being here, his surprising fondness for her already. Their thoughts didn't merge exactly, they remained separate people, but there was an awareness of each other that was more intimate than anything Marcus had ever experienced. The enzyme began to flow. Marcus could feel it moving from his system into hers, could sense it spreading through her neural pathways. Where it touched, the burning sensation in her nerves cooled. The out-of-control firing of her synapses began to slow, to find a rhythm. Time lost meaning. Marcus didn't know if they had been connected for minutes or hours. All he knew was the sensation of two minds working together, of his body helping heal hers. Finally, gradually, the connection began to fade. Marcus opened his eyes. When had he closed them? And found himself staring at the ceiling of the medical chamber. His whole body ached. How do you feel? Owen's voice asked from somewhere nearby. Like I ran a marathon, Marcus mumbled. How's Sarah? See for yourself. Marcus turned his head. Sarah was sitting up on her platform. The cracks in her exoskeleton looked lighter, less severe. The dim glow that had been barely visible before was now noticeably brighter. It worked, Sarah said, her voice full of wonder. Drax was examining his displays with what Marcus was learning to recognize as surprise. Remarkable. The enzyme has integrated perfectly. Synaptic activity has decreased by 40%. This is far better than I expected. Queen Lasara had been standing in the shadows, watching. Now she came forward, her movements quick and urgent. She reached her daughter and placed her hands on Sira's face, a gesture that was clearly one of deep affection. My child. I'm okay, Mother, Sarah replied. It's going to be okay. The Queen turned to Marcus. She didn't say anything, but she placed one hand over her chest in what he guessed was a Varine gesture of gratitude. Over the next week, they repeated the process 6 more times. Each session left Marcus drained, but each time, Sira improved more. The cracks in her exoskeleton began to heal. Her movements became stronger, more fluid. Her eyes brightened, but Marcus paid a price. By the 4th session, Owen was expressing serious concerns. Your neural patterns are showing strain, Owen said, showing Marcus the scans. Your brain is working overtime to produce the enzyme. If we push too hard, you could suffer permanent damage. How many more sessions does she need? Marcus asked. At least 3 more for a complete cure, Drax answered. Possibly 4. Then we do them, Marcus said, but he couldn't hide how tired he was becoming. His hands shook. He had trouble focusing. Sometimes, he would be talking and lose track of what he was saying mid-sentence. Lisa pulled him aside after the 5th session. This is getting dangerous. You need to slow down. I'm fine. You're not fine. You can barely stand. Marcus leaned against the wall. She was right. But what could he do? Stop now and leave Sarah only partially healed? During their sessions, he and Sira had developed a strange friendship. While their minds were connected, they would talk not with words, but with thoughts and feelings. He learned about her life in the palace, about the pressure to be perfect, about her loneliness. She learned about Earth, about human culture, about Marcus's work and his family. You have a sister, Sarah had said during one session, picking the memory out of his mind. She was sick when you were young. She was sick when you were young. Yes, Marcus had thought back. Leukemia. She almost died. I was only 10. That's why I became a doctor. I wanted to save people like her. Did she survive? Yes, she's fine now, married with 2 kids. So you understand, Sarah had said, what it's like to watch someone you love be sick and not be able to help. My mother feels that way now. That's why she's so desperate. Marcus had felt the truth of that through their connection. It made him more determined to see this through, no matter the cost to himself. But as they began the 6th session, something went wrong. Marcus felt the neural bridge forming as usual, felt the connection to Sira growing stronger. But this time, the sensation was different. Painful. Like something was tearing. Stop, Owen shouted. Something's wrong. His neural activity is spiking dangerously. We can't stop mid-session, Drax said. It could damage both of them. The pain grew worse. Marcus tried to hold on, tried to keep the connection stable, but it was like trying to hold on to lightning. Through the haze of pain, he felt Sira's panic matching his own. Marcus! Hold on. She thought at him, desperately, trying. He managed to think back. Then, suddenly, the pain stopped. The connection smoothed out. Marcus gasped in relief. What happened? Lisa demanded. I don't know, Drax said, but he sounded confused. But I didn't do anything. The session continued, smoother than before. When it ended, Marcus collapsed onto his platform, completely exhausted. But Sira looked better than ever. The cracks in her exoskeleton were almost completely healed. Later, when Marcus had recovered enough to talk, Drax pulled him aside. Something happened during that session, the physician said. Your neural patterns synchronized with the princess's in a way I've never seen before. You weren't just transferring enzyme anymore. Your brains were actively compensating for each other, balancing each other. It should be impossible. But I'm still okay? Marcus asked. For now, but I'm concerned about what will happen when we try to complete the treatment. One more session should cure the princess completely. But the strain on you could be catastrophic. I'll do it, Marcus said without hesitation. You might not survive it. Sarah will definitely not survive without it. The choice is pretty clear. That evening, Marcus sat with Sarah in the medical chamber. She was strong enough now to move around a little, and she had insisted on walking with him to the observation window that looked out over the city. You're risking your life for me, Sarah said. Marcus thought about it. Because I can. Because it's the right thing to do. Because you matter. I'm just one person. So am I. But one person can matter. You're going to do great things. Sarah. I can feel it. When we're connected, I can see your mind, your potential. You're smart and kind and curious. The universe needs people like you. Sarah was quiet for a moment. In our culture, We don't usually talk about individuals mattering. We're taught that the empire matters. The collective matters. But spending time with you, experiencing your thoughts, I'm starting to understand what my mother meant about humans being different. Different isn't always better. Marcus said, your species has accomplished amazing things. We've accomplished things, yes. We've built an empire that spans star systems. But we've lost something too. Watching you, feeling what you feel, you have something we don't. A kind of fire inside. Even when you're scared, even when you're in pain, you keep caring. You keep trying. We engineered that out of ourselves a long time ago. Before Marcus could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. Lisa burst into the medical chamber, her weapon drawn. We have a problem, she said. There's been some kind of political upheaval. Drax just got word that a faction in the court is planning to stop the treatment. What? Sira said. Why? Because they see you being saved by a human as proof that the Varine Empire is weak. Lisa explained. They want to remove your mother from power. Marcus felt his blood run cold. They were so close. One more session and Sira would be cured. But now someone was trying to stop them? Who's leading this faction? Queen Lysara's voice rang out as she strode into the chamber. Her presence filled the room. All trace of the worried mother gone. Now she was every inch a queen, and she was furious. High Commander Vex. One of her guards reported, following behind her. He has gathered support among the military leaders. They're calling for an emergency council meeting. Lysara's exoskeleton flashed with angry colors. Then we will attend this meeting, and we will show them exactly why I am queen. She turned to Marcus. Rest. Recover your strength. Tomorrow we finish the treatment. No matter what anyone says. As the queen swept out of the room, Marcus exchanged looks with Sira. Through the faint echo of their previous connections, he could feel her worry. This was about to get complicated. High Commander Vex was everything Marcus expected a military leader to be. His exoskeleton was darker than most Varine, almost black, with red patterns that pulsed like warning lights. He was larger too, built for combat rather than grace. When he entered the council chamber with a squad of soldiers, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Marcus wasn't supposed to be at this meeting. It was for Varine leadership only. But Queen Lysara had insisted he attend, along with Lisa and Owen. Let them see what they're trying to destroy, she had said. The council chamber was circular, with seats rising in tiers around a central platform. Dozens of Varine officials filled the space, all of them watching with their unreadable compound eyes. The tension was thick enough to cut. Vex stood on the central platform and addressed the council. His translator made his voice sound hard and cold. I speak for many when I say that this situation has gone too far. Our princess lies dying, and instead of using Varine science to save her, our queen has turned to an inferior species. A species that only achieved spaceflight a few hundred years ago. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The human's treatment is working, Queen Lysara said from her raised throne. Her voice was calm but firm. My daughter improves with each session. One more treatment will cure her completely. And what does this cure cost us? Vex demanded. Our dignity? Our reputation? Word is spreading through the empire that we needed help from primitives. Our enemies are laughing at us. Our allies question our strength. My daughter's life is worth more than reputation, Lysara said. And now there was steel in her voice. Is it? Vex turned to face her directly. Is one life worth the stability of the empire? You taught me that yourself, my queen. You've always said the empire must come first, the collective over the individual. That is our way. Marcus saw the hit land. Lysara's exoskeleton flashed with conflicting colors. Vex was using her own philosophy against her. The empire needs a strong ruler. Vex continued. Not one weakened by emotion. not one who forgets our principles the moment they become inconvenient. Perhaps it is time for new leadership. And the chamber erupted. Some Vereen voices supported Vex. Others defended the Queen. The noise was overwhelming. Dozens of clicking, humming voices all talking at once. Enough! Lysara's voice cut through the chaos. She stood, and the chamber fell silent. You dare challenge me, Vex? You who I raised from a common soldier? You who I trusted, with command of my fleets? I challenge what you have become, Vex said. You are not the Queen I followed. That Queen would never have shown such weakness. Saving my daughter is not weakness. It is exactly what weakness looks like. Vex interrupted. The old Lysara would have accepted her daughter's death as the price of maintaining our superiority. She would have found strength in sacrifice. But you have been corrupted by sentiment, by attachment, by... He gestured dismissively at Marcus. Human influence. Marcus felt like he should say something, defend himself somehow. But Lisa put a hand on his arm. Don't, she whispered. This isn't about you. It's about Vereen politics. The council debated for hours. Marcus watched as Queen Lysara fought for her position, for her daughter, for the right to continue the treatment. She was magnificent, her arguments logical and passionate at once. But Vex was skilled too, playing on the fears and prejudices of the council. Finally, a vote was called. Marcus held his breath as the results came in. It was close, terrifyingly close. But Queen Lysara maintained her authority by the narrowest of margins. The treatment will continue, Lysara declared. Tomorrow, we complete the final session. Any who interfere will answer to me personally. Vex bowed, but his body language radiated anger. As you command, my queen. The way he said the title made it sound like an insult. As they left the chamber, Lisa moved close to Marcus. That guy is trouble. He's not going to accept this. What can he do? Marcus asked. The Queen won. Barely, Owen pointed out. And only in an official vote. If Vex really wants to stop the treatment, he has other options. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep again. He kept replaying the council meeting in his head, kept seeing the hatred in Vex's posture. Around midnight, he gave up on sleep and went to check on Sira. The princess was awake too, sitting up in her medical bed and looking out the window. She turned when Marcus entered. Can't sleep either? She asked. Too much to think about, Marcus said, settling into a chair beside her platform. How are you feeling? Physically? Better than I have in months. Emotionally? She made a sound that might have been a laugh. I'm causing a civil war. That's new. This isn't your fault, isn't it? If I wasn't sick, none of this would be happening. Vex is right about one thing my mother changed. She was different before. Harder. She put the empire above everything. But when I got sick, something broke in her. Or maybe something healed. I'm not sure which. She loves you, Marcus said simply. That's not weakness. That's what makes her strong enough to fight for what matters. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Your species is strange. You value things we've spent millions of years trying to eliminate. Love. Compassion. Individual bonds. We thought we were superior because we moved beyond those things. But watching you, feeling your thoughts during our sessions, I think maybe we lost something important. Before Marcus could respond, the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in a red glow. Alarms began to sound. What's happening? Sira asked, fear creeping into her voice. Lisa burst through the door, her weapon ready. We've got a security breach. Multiple armed Vereen heading this way. It's Vex. He's making his move. Get Marcus out of here. Sarah said immediately. I'm not leaving you, Marcus said. You have to. If Vex's forces capture you, they can prevent the final treatment. You're the only one who can cure me. You need to. An explosion rocked the building. The medical equipment sparked and flickered. Too late, Lisa said. They're already here. Drax appeared from another entrance, several other Varine physicians with him. The medical wing is sealed, but it won't hold long. Vex's soldiers are cutting through the doors. Can we complete the treatment now? Owen asked urgently. Right now? Before they break through? Drax manipulated one of the displays, checking readings. It's possible, but extremely risky. The equipment is damaged. We don't have time to do it properly. Both the human and the princess could die. But if we don't do it at all, Sarah dies anyway, Marcus said. Let's do it. Sarah started. Now, Marcus said firmly. Before Vex gets through that door. Drax hesitated only a second before moving into action. His team worked frantically, connecting Marcus and Sarah to the damaged equipment. Sparks flew from several machines. The sound of cutting tools grew louder outside the sealed doors. This is insane, Owen muttered, but he helped anyway, adjusting settings and checking monitors. Beginning synchronization, Drax announced. May the ancestors forgive me if this goes wrong. The neural bridge formed, but it was wrong from the start. Instead of the smooth connection they had experienced before, this felt jagged and painful. Marcus gasped as the sensation hit him like a physical blow. Through their link, he felt Sarah's panic. The damaged equipment was creating feedback in the bridge, making the connection unstable and agonizing. The enzyme transfer is happening too fast, Owen shouted over the alarms. His neural system can't handle this rate. It's going to burn out. Marcus felt it. Felt his own neurons firing out of control, just like Sarah's had been. The pain was incredible. It was like his brain was on fire, but he could also feel the enzyme flooding into Sarah's system. Could feel her neural pathways stabilizing, healing, reaching the final state of recovery. They were so close. Just a little longer, and she would be cured. The cutting sound stopped. A moment later, the sealed door exploded inward. Vex strode through with a dozen soldiers, their weapons raised. Stop this immediately, Vex commanded. Not until it's finished, Queen Lysera said. She had appeared from somewhere, her personal guard forming a barrier between Vex's forces and the medical platforms. You will not touch them. You're finished, Lysera, Vex said. Half the fleet has joined me. The council is being dissolved. Your reign is over. My reign ends when I say it ends, Lysera growled. Her exoskeleton flashed with violent colors. Marcus barely heard them. The pain was too intense. His vision was blurring. Through the neural bridge, he felt Sarah fighting too, trying to help him the way he had helped her. Marcus, her thoughts reached him. Let go. You're going to die. Not yet, he thought back. Almost there, but he was failing. He could feel his consciousness slipping away. His neurons were burning out one by one. Then something happened. Through his fading vision, Marcus saw Queen Lysera do something impossible. She reached up and removed her crown, the living organism that enhanced her neural capacity, the symbol of her authority, and moved toward Marcus. No, Vex shouted. That crown has been worn by queens for 10,000 years. It will kill him, or it will save them both, Lysera said. She placed the crown on Marcus's head. The pain exploded into something beyond description. Marcus screamed. The crown's tendrils dug into his scalp, connected to his neurons, and suddenly, his brain was operating at a level no human was meant to achieve. The enzyme production in his body increased 100-fold. The neural bridge stabilized, and with one final massive surge, the last of what Sarah needed flooded into her system. Marcus felt the moment her condition was cured. Felt her neural pathways lock into their new, healthy pattern. Felt her body respond. Her exoskeleton sealing completely. Her strength returning. And then he felt nothing at all. The world went dark. The last thing Marcus heard before unconsciousness took him was Sarah screaming his name and the sound of weapons fire as Queen Lysara's forces clashed with Vex's soldiers. Then there was only silence and darkness. Somewhere in that darkness, Marcus thought he heard his sister's voice from when they were children, when she had been sick and scared. "Don't worry," she had told him. "The doctors will help me. Sometimes, people have to be brave so other people can get better." He had asked her if it hurt to be brave. She had smiled and said, "Yes, but it's worth it." Marcus understood that now. It hurt, but it was worth it. Then even those thoughts faded away into nothing. Marcus woke up slowly, like swimming up through deep water. His head felt strange, like it was full of cotton and electricity at the same time. He tried to open his eyes, but the light hurt. "Dim the lights," someone said, Owen's voice. "He's waking up." The brightness decreased, and Marcus tried again. This time, he could see. He was back in his quarters, lying in the human-style bed. Owen sat in a chair beside him, looking exhausted. Lisa stood by the door, and she broke into a huge smile when she saw his eyes open. "Welcome back," Lisa said. "You scared us pretty bad there." Marcus tried to talk, but his throat was dry. Owen held a cup to his lips, helping him drink. The water tasted strange, or maybe his mouth just wasn't working right. "How long?" Marcus managed to croak out. 3 days, Owen said. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Your neural activity was all over the place. We weren't sure if you'd wake up the same, or wake up at all." "Sarah?" Marcus asked. Owen's tired face broke into a smile. "Cured. Completely cured. Her condition has stabilized perfectly." "You did it, Marcus. You saved her." Relief flooded through Marcus. It had worked. All the pain, all the risk. It had been worth it. "But there's something you need to know," Owen continued, his expression becoming serious. "The crown. When Queen Lysara put it on you, it bonded with your neural system. Drax was able to remove it, but it left permanent changes." Marcus tried to process that. "Different how? You're still human," Owen said quickly. "Still you. But your brain produces the enzyme naturally now, in much higher quantities than before. And you have some new abilities. You can perceive electromagnetic fields, like the Varine do. Your neural processing speed has increased. You're going to notice things you never noticed before." As Owen said it, Marcus realized it was true. He could see colors in the room that he couldn't name. He could sense the electrical current running through the walls. It was overwhelming and amazing at the same time. "Am I still human?" Marcus asked quietly. "Yes," Owen said firmly. "You're just enhanced. Think of it like you've gained new senses, not lost your old ones." "What happened with Vex?" Marcus asked. "The attack. The soldiers." Lisa walked over. "Queen Lysara crushed the rebellion. Once you and Sarah were stabilized, she went into full warrior mode. Vex and his supporters are in custody. Turns out, most of his backing disappeared once everyone saw what Lysara was willing to sacrifice for her daughter, removing the crown. That's like a human president giving up their position to save one person. It changed how people saw her." 8. "She can't be queen without the crown?" Marcus asked. "She can," Owen explained. "But the crown enhances neural function. It makes her smarter, faster, more capable of ruling. Without it, she's diminished. Everyone knows that. But she did it anyway." The door opened, and Marcus heard light footsteps approaching. Princess Sira appeared in his vision, and Marcus caught his breath. She looked completely different. Her exoskeleton was perfect now, glowing with healthy light. The lavender color was rich and deep. The cracks were gone entirely. She moved with fluid grace, nothing like the weak, dying princess he had first met. "You're awake," Sarah said. And Marcus could hear the emotion in her voice, even through the translator. "I was so worried. You've been unconscious for so long." "Worth it," Marcus managed to say. "You look great." Sarah made a sound that was definitely a laugh. She sat down on the edge of the bed, careful not to jostle him. I'm sorry about what happened. About Vex, about the crown, about all of it. You came here to help, and you almost died. But I didn't die, Marcus said. And you're cured. That's what matters. Is it? Sira asked. You've been changed permanently. Your life will never be the same. And for what? To save one person you barely knew. Marcus thought about it, about everything that had happened. Yes, he said finally. Because that's what we do. Humans, I mean. We help people. Even when it's hard. Even when it costs us something. That's what makes us human. That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Sira said. During our neural bridges, I felt what you felt. I experienced your emotions, your thoughts, your humanity. It changed me, Marcus. I can't go back to being what I was before. I don't want to. The door opened again, and Queen Lysara entered. She looked different too. The crown was back on her head, but Marcus could see something had changed in her bearing. She seemed softer somehow, more open. Dr. Webb, the Queen said formally. I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved my daughter's life at great personal cost. The Varine Empire is in your debt. I don't want the Empire's debt, Marcus said. I just wanted to help Sira. Lysara's exoskeleton flashed with colors Marcus was starting to understand. Amusement and respect. That is exactly why you succeeded where we would have failed. You acted from compassion, not obligation. From love, not duty. These are things my people have forgotten how to value. She moved closer, her 4 hands gesturing as she spoke. The crisis with Vex revealed deep problems in our empire. We have become rigid, obsessed with perfection and strength at the expense of everything else. But watching you, seeing what you were willing to sacrifice, it showed me that we've been wrong. Mother has been implementing reforms, Sira added excitedly. Changes to how we govern, how we treat other species, how we view strength and weakness. My daughter is helping me, Lysara said, and the pride in her voice was unmistakable. She understands better than anyone what we need to change. Her experience with you, the neural bridges you shared, gave her insight that no Varine has had in millions of years. She felt what it means to be human, and now she's helping teach that to our people. We're establishing an academy, Sira said, a place where different species can come together to learn from each other. Not just sharing technology, but sharing perspectives, values, ways of thinking. I want you to help me build it. Marcus looked at her in surprise. Me? I'm just a doctor. You're much more than that, Sira said. You're proof that different species can help each other in ways we never imagined. You're living evidence that compassion and sacrifice have value. We need you. 5. What about Earth? Marcus asked, looking at Owen and Lisa. I have a life there. Responsibilities. And you can keep them, Lysara said. We're not asking you to give up your home. We're asking you to be a bridge between our worlds, to help us understand each other, to prevent other conflicts like the one with Vex. Owen leaned forward. The Earth government is very interested in this academy idea. Ambassador Brooks has been in contact with them. They think you'd be perfect for the role. But it's your choice, Marcus. No pressure. Marcus lay back and closed his eyes. 3 days ago, he had been a simple scientist. Now he was some kind of hybrid being, changed forever by alien technology, being asked to help reshape relations between species. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt right. I'll do it, Marcus said. But on one condition. Name it, Lysara said. This academy, it can't just be for important people or leaders. It has to be open to everyone. Regular people. Young people. Anyone who wants to learn and grow and understand. That's how real change happens. Sira's exoskeleton flashed with bright, happy colors. Done. Over the next few weeks, Marcus recovered his strength. The changes to his neural system became easier to manage. He learned to control his new senses, to interpret the electromagnetic fields he could now perceive. Drax was fascinated by him, constantly running tests and making notes. "You're unique," the physician told him. "The only being in existence, with both human and Varine neural enhancements. You produce the healing enzyme naturally now. Do you realize what that means? You could potentially help others with similar conditions. Your blood might save lives across the galaxy." Gross. Marcus hadn't thought about that. It was overwhelming to consider. But it also felt like purpose. Like maybe everything he had gone through had meaning beyond just saving one princess. Kyle Brooks and Helen Price came to visit before they returned to Earth. The ambassador was practically glowing with excitement. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" Kyle asked. "You've changed the entire political landscape of this sector. The Varine Empire is opening up for the first time in millennia. Other species are requesting contact. Earth is suddenly a player on the galactic stage because one of our citizens saved their princess." "I just did what anyone would do," Marcus said. "No," Helen said firmly. "Most people wouldn't have done it. Most people would have been too scared or would have given up when it got hard. You're a hero, Marcus, whether you like it or not." On his last night before they officially opened the academy, Marcus stood on the same balcony where he'd talked with Queen Lysara weeks before. The city of Crystallia glowed below, more beautiful than ever now that he could see the electromagnetic patterns woven through it. Sarah joined him, moving silently on her 4 legs. She stood beside him, looking out at the view. "Nervous about tomorrow?" she asked. "Terrified," Marcus admitted. "What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do what you need me to do?" "You're already doing it," Sarah said. "You're here. You're willing to try. That's all we can ask." They stood in comfortable silence for a while. Through the faint neural connection that still existed between them, Marcus could feel Sarah's contentment, her hope for the future. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said. "When your mother first approached me, when she said her daughter needed me, she said she couldn't comprehend it. What did she mean?" Sarah's exoskeleton rippled with thoughtful colors. "She meant that it went against everything she'd been taught. That accepting help from another species, especially one we considered inferior, was incomprehensible. That loving someone so much you'd do anything to save them was illogical. But she did it anyway, because sometimes the right thing isn't logical. It's just right." "She's a good queen," Marcus said. "She's a good mother," Sarah corrected. "That's more important." The next morning, the academy opened its doors for the first time. Representatives from a dozen species had come for the ceremony. Marcus stood on a platform with Sarah and Queen Lysara, looking out at the crowd of aliens, all different, all unique. "Today, we begin something new," Lysara announced. "For too long, the Varine Empire has stood apart, believing we had nothing to learn from others. One human showed us how wrong we were. Dr. Marcus Webb sacrificed his own well-being to save my daughter, not for reward or recognition, but simply because it was right. That simple act of compassion has changed everything." She gestured to Marcus. "In honor of his sacrifice, and of the bond he formed with my daughter, I am granting him the title of Honorary Varine. He will serve as the first director of this academy, helping us build bridges between species." The crowd made various sounds of approval in their different languages. Marcus felt overwhelmed by the attention, but Sarah was beside him, her presence reassuring. "I'm not special," Marcus said when it was his turn to speak. "I'm just someone who tried to help when help was needed. But I think that's the point. We all have the ability to help each other, to learn from each other, to grow together. This academy is about recognizing that no species has all the answers. We're stronger together than we are apart." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "When Queen Lysara first approached me, she said words I couldn't comprehend. But now, I understand." Sometimes the most important things can't be comprehended with logic alone. They have to be felt. Love, compassion, sacrifice. These things don't always make sense, but they're what make life worth living. They're what connect us across the vastness of space and the differences in our biology. Humans have a saying, Marcus continued. It takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a galaxy to raise a civilization. We need each other. All of us. And this academy is where we start learning that together. The crowd erupted in approval, each species expressing it in their own way. Marcus looked at Sarah, at Queen Lasara, at Lisa and Owen in the crowd. He thought about Earth, about his sister and her family, about the life he used to have. He would miss parts of that life. But this felt like exactly where he was supposed to be. That evening, Marcus sat in his new office in the academy building. Through the window, he could see students arriving, Varine, humans, and aliens from species he didn't even have names for yet. They came to learn, to grow, to understand. His communication device chimed. It was a message from his sister, back on Earth. Saw your speech today, she wrote. The whole planet watched it. I'm so proud of you. Little brother. You always wanted to save people, like the doctors saved me. Looks like you're doing it on a much bigger scale now. Miss you. Love you. Come home and visit sometime, okay? The kids want to meet their uncle, the space hero. Marcus smiled and typed back a reply. Miss you too. Not a hero, just a guy who did what needed doing. But I'll visit soon. Promise. Love you. He hit send and leaned back in his chair. Through his enhanced senses, he could feel the electromagnetic signatures of hundreds of beings moving through the academy. All of them here, to learn and grow together. Queen Lasara's eyes had locked on him that day, desperate and afraid. She had said her daughter needed him. Said she couldn't comprehend it. Now, looking at everything that had grown from that moment, Marcus finally understood. She hadn't just been asking him to save her daughter. She had been asking him to save her whole species from the isolation they had built around themselves, to show them what they had lost in their pursuit of perfection. And somehow, impossibly, he had done it, not because he was special or superior, but because he was human. Because he cared. Because when faced with someone in need, he had chosen to help, regardless of the cost. That, Marcus thought, was what it truly meant to be human. And maybe, just maybe, it was a lesson that could spread across the stars.